everybody. This is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I'm very excited to be creating a layout for the first day of Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches Series 9. I have the sketch in the upper left-hand corner, and in addition to using this sketch, we're also using some prompts from Dottie About Flair, and today's prompt is florals. So I managed to both use a sketch and include the prompt in my layout. I just wanted to let you know that I am not going to be putting out a video each day as I've done in the past. I wasn't able to get the number of layouts done that I would have liked to, and it takes me quite a bit of time to scrapbook, but I do plan on putting out quite a few videos, and I am also planning on using all the sketches even if it's not in March. So I do plan to have all the videos, but they won't come out each day. I am going to combine some of the hops that I participate in with Christy's Beautiful Life, so I'll be taking part in those hops, but I will also be using the sketch for that day. And now I'm going to start talking about the layout. So I cut this piece of background paper, this black paper with the silver stars, into a few pieces, and then I changed my mind and decided to use it as a background paper. So I pieced it back together, and because I've layered this teal snowflake paper on top of it, you really can't tell that it was pieced back together. For this layout, I used the pattern papers and many of the embellishments from the Vicki Boutin Warm Wishes collection. I cut a strip of pink pattern paper from the collection, and that's going down the center of the layout, and my photo is going to be resting on top of that. I mounted the photo on some white cardstock, and then on some red pattern paper, and then again on some black cardstock. I also used some tags on my layout. Of course, the sketch has a line of tags, so I did the same thing. And I got those tags from Michael's when they had a big clearance sale on their Christmas items. And when I bought the tags, I had this sketch in mind. I was thinking that I could use some bright glittery tags on a Christmas layout. I'm cutting the strip of pink pattern paper to size, and I'm using some Distress Oxide in black soot to ink the edges of all of the pattern papers and the tags that are on the layout. This photo is of my younger daughter Julia, and it was taken on Christmas Eve at my sister's house. I think it's about 6 years ago now. I promise I will never take these times for granted again, since we weren't able to have our Christmas Eve tradition this year because of COVID. And I look at these pictures now with totally different eyes. It's crazy how that's totally changed the way that I look at the holidays and how much I am so grateful for them. Now that I have everything on the layout inked with the black soot, I'm attaching the pieces down to the layout. I like to use ATG adhesive because it's repositionable, and I often change my mind and move things around. Sometimes it's not repositionable. Sometimes it is a very strong adhesive and it does rip the paper, but for the most part, I feel that I can move most things around with it. I used my T-square to make sure that both the turquoise paper and the pink paper were on the layout straight. I also have a piece of rectangular paper to the right of the photo as a layering piece, and I'm adding some foam to the back of the photo as well to pop it up a little bit off the background. I'm also using the ATG adhesive on the foam. Sometimes that ATG tape, it doesn't want to stick to foam, but I was able to get enough of it on the foam to hold the picture down and attach it to the page. And now I peeled up that piece of turquoise paper. I just felt that it needed a white border around it. It was just a feeling that I was getting, and I know how I am. If I want to do something like that, I'd better do it sooner than later, because I will end up doing it at some point, and I want to do it as early in the process as possible. And I am glad that I did that. I think that it helps the turquoise paper to be separated from the black paper in the background. And then I just started repositioning everything on the layout and putting everything back where it went. Now the tags came a little bit wider than they are right now. I ended up trimming each of them down just a little bit so that they would all fit on the page. And now I'm going to attach them down, and I keep my T-square there so that all of the tags are lined up on the left-hand side. I wanted to put a border on the left-hand side of the page, so I used an EK Success border punch, and I punched out a snowflake border in 2 different colors. I punched it out once in the same turquoise pattern paper I used on the right-hand side of the layout, and then I also punched it out in white, and then I slightly offset the 2 strips so that you could see the white underneath. The white helps to make the turquoise a little bit more noticeable and stand out from the background. Since I already used white on the right-hand side, I thought it would be best to have some white on the left-hand side with that turquoise paper as well. Now I'm working on a title. It says Celebrate Christmas Eve, but I do end up switching that title for a different title. I'm using some chipboard pine needles, and I end up switching those out as well. And I also am putting some dimensional flowers on the layout. I keep the red ones, and even though I really like those black and white plaid flowers, I don't end up using those. And I really like the way they look right now, but at the time, I wasn't in love with them. And that happens to me all the time. I'll be editing a video and I'll think, oh, that actually looked pretty good. I'm not really sure why I switched it. But the reason that I did switch it is because I felt that those black and white flowers weren't as noticeable as I wanted them to be. Now I'm adding some pieces from the chipboard pack. I added those adorable little birds to the layout. And then I also added some holly leaves to 2 of the corners of the photo. Instead of putting photo corners, I thought that that would be a good addition to the photo. And then I also added the black and gold strip that I cut in half so that it would look a little bit longer. There were some very tiny chipboard pieces. They were snowflakes, and I thought that they would add some nice dimension to the snowflakes on the pattern paper. So I picked a couple of snowflakes and I added those pieces of chipboard to them. This is where I switch out the title. Now the title is The Magic of Christmas, and I also take away those black and white poinsettias. I'm adding some larger sparkly red poinsettias. Right now, the second cluster of flowers is to the left of the photo, and I left that there for a while, but then I started thinking that I didn't like the way it interrupted the view of all of those tags that were lined up, so I do end up moving those. I was also thinking that I didn't need that silver tag in the middle. I switched the silver tag out and made it a gold tag. I really liked the little gold and red Christmas tree that was in the chipboard pack, so I worked that into the cluster on the right. I add some gold bows from my stash to the gold tags. And then I added some fun foam to the back of the title to give it a little bit of dimension. And if you don't like your pages to have a lot of dimension, the fun foam is perfect because it does pop things up a little bit, but it doesn't add too much bulk to your pages. And in case you're not familiar, fun foam is just kids craft foam, and you can find it in any large craft store in the kids section. I also popped up that bird since it's going to be sitting on top of the title. I took out some pearls. I just got these on clearance at Hobby Lobby, and I like them because they're all different size pearls. So I'm putting those on the snowflakes on the turquoise pattern paper. I put a pearl on most snowflakes, not every single one, but most of them. And I try to match the size of the pearl to the size of the snowflake. This set of pearls is very small. The largest pearl is not that big, and I thought that that size pearl would look nice on the border strip that's on the left-hand side of the page. I put some gel glue down to keep the pearls from falling off, but I'm looking at the layout right now and it looks like one of the pearls has already fallen off, so I'll have to go back and put that pearl back on the layout again. I'm putting some foam underneath these poinsettias. I just felt that they were a little bit too flat looking. Because the flowers are right near the photo, if they're not raised up, they just don't look quite right and they don't sit correctly on the photo. So I glue those poinsettias on the left right down to the layout. And as I mentioned, I ended up not really liking that placement. So sometimes when I go to bed and I wake up the next morning, things jump out at me, and I was right away thinking that I didn't really like where they were on the layout. So now I'm adding more of those pearls in a few different spots. I added a very, very tiny pearl to the bow that's at the top of that chipboard tree. And then I added a few more pearls to a couple of different spots on that turquoise background paper. I just happened to have a red jewel handy on my table there, so I thought that it would be perfect to add that to this layout, and I decided on putting it as the dot on the eye. Now I decided here that I was going to move those poinsettias, so I couldn't save that gold tag, but that's okay because there were a whole bunch of these tags in the pack that I bought. So I cut another one down to size, inked the edges again, and now I can put that back on the layout and I can move the poinsettias up on top of the photo. And then I place that gold bow back on the tag. And I find there are so many different colors of gold that they're hard to match. But it just so happened that these bows matched the tags just perfectly. I was really surprised when I saw that. I add a little chipboard piece that says Holiday Fun. And now I'm taking away those chipboard pine leaves. I just didn't find that they were enough for the poinsettias that were there. I felt that it would look better if there were some die cut pine needles. So I took out an envelope that I have that has lots of these die cut pine needles in them, and I really liked this particular color green. And I wanted to add a little bit of variation to the color. So first I used some Distress Oxide in pine needles, and I rubbed some of that onto these die cuts, and then it didn't have as dramatic of an effect as I wanted, so I took the Distress ink that I have in Vintage Photo and a dauber, and I added some of that to the pine needles. And I just love adding inks to add a little bit of variation to solid cardstock die cuts. I want to add the pine needles to the two clusters of poinsettias, and then I also want to add some to the title where there's that small poinsettia. So I just start arranging them around the clusters and try to arrange them so that they make those clusters look very full. And I do end up liking that much better than those chipboard pieces. There just weren't enough of them for the amount of poinsettias that I had on the layout. And then once I have the pine branches arranged the way I want them, I use some gel glue and I attach them down to the layout. And that is the final touch, and that completes this layout. Here are some close-ups. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. I'm really excited for this event. I love 30 Days with Sketches. Take a look at the description box. There are lots of links to lots of other channels where you can get so much inspiration and so many different takes on this same awesome sketch. And I just want to say thank you so much to Christy. She puts so much work into this event each year, and it's so incredible. Have a fantastic day, everybody. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.